Dakotah, thanks for joining. You're down in North Carolina for training camp. What's it like to get out of the Minnesota winter?
Unfortunately, Minnesota winter followed me down here. It was like 18 degrees this morning, which actually would be like a really nice winter day in
Yeah.
Minnesota, but it's really cold down here. I packed a lot of shorts I haven't used yet.
No, fair enough. Well, we were saying offline, I'm just kind of above you in Canada, and it's the same way up here. We did a training camp in North Carolina like 3 years ago, I think, and it was the same. We thought it would be like warmer and nicer, but it was like cool. And this seems to be bad on the East Coast. All my athletes on the East Coast are hating their lives right now.
Yeah, a lot of treadmill time. I'm also a coach, and it's just
Yeah.
like text and email after email of just like can't get outside today. I'm snowed in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think winter is good though for kind of like the reset. It allows
Yeah.
you some time, like some downtime. Forces you to not be so intense. So I think it's good overall. But man, I'm ready for some hot summer runs.
Yeah. Do you find it harder now that you've been away from camps in the winter, like leading into a couple of the Olympic trials and stuff, being away and then like getting cold in the winter, you're like, I can't do this anymore. Like once you've kind of got that taste of being out of it.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever spend a full winter ever again in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like it does spoil you for sure. And I'm trying
Yeah.
to figure out how close to like the equator I can get
Yeah. Oh yeah.
every winter.
Oh, I can't say I blame you. We did a camp where in Austin, Texas was pretty good one
Mm,
year. Claremont's pretty good. I've done down there. So I'm sure your group will
sure.
figure it
Yeah.
out.
It's about finding like not only somewhere warm, but also that
Yeah.
has a good running structure. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to run on, sidewalks and busy streets every day.
Yeah.
So trying to find like that balance. I think we're thinking Phoenix next year.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. We did we went and moved to Flag last year actually, but there was only like 2 snow days at Flag, so that was kind of nice. But
Yeah, see, that's 250-50 for me. Like,
yeah.
Flight could get like 30 inches of snow
Yeah, and it's
every other
over. Yeah,
day.
you're done. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Fair
yeah.
enough. How much of your group came down?
So right now it's me, Annie Frisbee, and Kaylee Hughes. So me and Annie
Okay.
are
Yeah.
both training for
Yeah.
Boston, and Kaylee is also a Puma athlete, but she's more of a trackster. She's a little younger and still has a lot of speed in her legs. So
Yeah, fair
yeah,
enough.
she'll get ready for a 10K, I'm sure soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. Well, let's jump into that. You've got Boston. You were recently announced for that. I know the build is just kind of starting, but what are things feeling like? How's the early build? Are you excited to be on the East Coast and getting ready to build?
Yeah, I mean, North Carolina, the Raleigh-Durham area is
Yeah.
great for Boston because it's so hilly. It's like so rolling here. Training has been okay, which I think for Boston is the best. Like, you don't ever want to be, if I was right now, April, or I mean February 9th, being like, I'm so fit, like I would be in a bad place. That like it's one of those races where you want to be a little undercooked getting to the starting line. So I think right now I'm in an okay spot. I don't feel like I'm at the most fit I've ever been, but we got a lot of work to do over the next couple months. So I'm glad to have that time ahead of me, but definitely feeling like I'm getting into the marathon grind where I'm tired a lot, hungry a lot,
Yeah,
cranky a
yeah.
lot.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, hopefully you ate before this, so we'll be good. Nobody will think different of
Totally.
you. But I wanted to ask you because Boston is unique, especially at your guys' level. Like you guys don't tend to take on too many like Boston, save for Boston, obviously. And for a lot of us training for the marathon, we look at like the numbers very like strategic. It's like this pace equals X, so I can run X, Y, Z. But with the Boston build, especially training where you are right now, there's a lot more feel. And I know you're using Stride as well. So how are you implementing that for Boston? And what are you taking away and learning? Because I get lots of questions about Stride and full disclosure. I've never used it. I don't know it. I know power from cycling, but I thought it'd be interesting for people to hear how you're using it for a course that's very much favors people who know their RPE and know kind of what they're doing on the pacing side. So what are you doing with that?
Yeah, so especially here, like there is the ATT we can get on, which is
Sure.
fairly, it's what they call flat, but make no mistake, that line is not flat. But
Yeah.
we do a lot of like loops trying to simulate a lot of like the Newton hills. So for that, instead of worrying about what pace I'm running, I'm looking at my power to make sure I'm not digging too deep because I think the worst thing you can do going into Boston is, like I said, be overcooked.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to look at my power to keep it like tomorrow, for example, we have 10 miles where one's at threshold pace, one's a float, so it'll be a little slower than marathon pace, but I'll be looking at my power, like what my threshold power is, not my pace. Like I know that
Got it.
my threshold mile pace I can't do on the hills here.
Yeah.
And if I do, I'm gonna crash at mile 8 and not be able
Yeah.
to finish a workout as hard as I want. So I'm using my power a lot for that. And even like just when it's not hilly, I'm using it on windy days or cold days, hot days. Anytime like it's not perfect conditions, I'm looking at
Yeah.
power over pace normally
Yeah.
because that way I know that I'm hitting like the right zone versus, especially as elite athletes, like we have this tendency to like really dig and be like,
Yeah.
oh, I want to be perfect on the pace. So it holds me back, which is what I need for sure.
That's good. I want to ask you a question on that on the mental side, because like the power on the running side is relatively new. So it's a bit of a newer tech that you're integrating. How was the shift from, like, obviously you were quite successful even before using Stride, to be like, I'm going to change some of the metrics that I use to decide for workouts? Like, what was the psychology of that like? Because that's so hard to be like, I know this works here and I'm going to add this data point that's going to guide me. Like, how did you navigate that?
Yeah, I would say it's hard at first because I'm just so numbers driven in
Mhm.
that way. And I love to look at a workout and be like, this workout was faster than that,
Yeah.
than the same time I did this last year. But what I've done or what I've experienced over the 18 marathons that I've done is that usually my training blocks that are good, not super great, that are just straight up good, lead
Mhm.
to my best marathons. And when I
Yeah.
have those super great builds where I'm crushing every single workout, usually leads to my worst marathons. So now
Mhm.
I can live in that mindset of knowing that like good is almost better than great in training. And so I think that that helps mentally to be like it's okay that I'm not hitting a pace that I used to be able to hit because I know that I'm not running my I'm like not losing my race in this workout, I guess.
Yeah.
That's a big tendency I have in long runs and workouts is to like leave a little bit of my race there.
Yeah. Do you think then, if I can ask you this, that like those builds where you were nailing the workouts, do you think you left too much in training so you showed up to the line either like stale or crispy or something and you learned from that?
Totally. And I mean, I'm going to be 100% honest.
Yeah.
I'm still learning.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
My Chicago build was like phenomenal in an incredible way. I had the best workouts, and that's where it can get tricky. Like through the summer when you're running in like more perfect
Yeah.
conditions, I would run really, really hard. And then I had like what I would consider a pretty bad day in Chicago.
Sure.
I
Fair enough.
ran
Yeah.
many workouts significantly faster that pointed to like a faster race, but I can think of a couple where I think I left my race there,
Yeah.
and just overdid it.
Yeah. I don't coach anybody at your level. I got a Canadian 212 guy. And one of the things
Oh,
we talk
that's
about
pretty
is like,
fast.
it's still pretty fast. Yeah, yeah, admittedly,
Yeah.
but we're not on the Olympic team yet. So, but one of the things we talk about in line with what you're saying is like, I will take like B plus workouts for a whole build over a bunch of like A's and a C and kind of all over the place. And he, like you, it was very like numbers. I got to hit this. I got to do this. So I moved him up to the marathon early. He's 3 marathons in. He's 26, 27 now. I can't remember what his birthday is, but um, I found the marathon kind of took that out of him a little bit. Did you notice that as you kept going in the marathon? You're like, okay, I can't do it like I used to as a 5, 10 half runner kind of thing. I got to listen a little bit more to my body.
Well, so I moved to the marathon like right away.
Right.
Right out of college, I was pretty much a marathoner, but so I did not learn that lesson
Sure.
early in my marathon career, but I have learned it now. But like I said, I'm still learning it because you do get like addicted. There's like an
Hmm.
adrenaline too. Like, wow, I just ran such a fast workout, and that means I'm probably gonna, like when you do it into a calculator and you're like, oh, that means
Yeah.
I can run this fast, like you
Yeah.
do get
Yeah.
addicted to it. But that's what having a great coach will help you do is like hold
Yeah.
you back. So yeah, it's something I'm still learning, but the more marathons I do too, and I'm not an old marathoner yet, but I'm getting there. I'm, a
Yeah.
seasoned marathoner, so I know that I can't I can't run them quite as hard as I used to.
Yeah. And what has that kind of been like? Like the American women in particular, not that you guys were ever like weak per se, but there's been a resurgence in depth lately, it seems like, in the women's marathon in the US. And what's that like trying to navigate exactly what you're saying, right? Like, okay, I got to run these, if you use my language, like B plus in the right power, et cetera. But I know that there's 10 other women right now that are like realistically in a position to also do the same thing I do. How do you navigate that?
Yeah, I feel like there's this, especially just like with Strava, and I'm a
Yeah.
huge lover of Strava, so I'm not crapping on it at all. But
Yeah.
Instagram, like we can compare so
Sure.
easily to each other. And so I feel like I do a really good job of just like not living in that comparison trap and
Mhm.
looking like I can look at somebody's workout and be like, wow, that's super crazy, but not feel like, oh, I also have to do that. I think of Emma Grace Hurley. She's on Strava
Yeah.
and she's not yet to the marathon, but I think she'll see a marathon debut out of her soon. And she just runs so fast. She runs like 440-mile
Yeah.
repeats, like so much faster than I've ever even run 1 mile. And I just have to look at it and be like, we have different systems. Like I
Yeah.
am not a fast twitch girly, I am a slow twitch girly. And
Yeah.
being able to just kind of differentiate, I guess my strengths versus theirs. Like I can go rip a 24-mile long run faster than most people can, but I
Yeah.
can't go super fast on the track. So I think I'm in a good place where I just know what my strengths and weaknesses are. And I know that even if I tried to attempt what other people do in workouts, it probably wouldn't work for me. And that's
Yeah.
the benefit of having a coach for, gosh, I've been with my coach for now like 8 years, is that he knows what's going to be better for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think the proof is in the pudding. Like, not only are you doing what you're doing, but Annie, your guys' group keeps growing. You know, the men's side is growing now too, as well. And so
Yeah.
it's fun to see. I mean, you guys are close enough to me in Canada that we pay attention. But yeah, what's that been like? You know, staying with a coach for the same time, having these results, continuing to learn. Like, do you feel that's a bit of a superpower for you?
Yeah, I think staying with the same program for a long time is a super benefit. Of course, there have been times where I question and I wonder, but like, you see what other groups are doing, and if like one
Mhm.
group seems to be popping off, sometimes you're like, oh, maybe if I was in that training program that would work for me. But I think staying with a program for a long time, especially if you are seeing like incremental benefits, is huge because it's like we all can relate to having a new coach and like having to learn their training and what their
Mhm.
expectations are, their communication style, and then also being surrounded by such great athletes on MDE. Like I'm so blessed to have Annie Frisbee as a teammate because like she's such a speed demon. So on the track, I'm like, doing everything I can to keep up with her, and then I'm a little bit stronger in the long run, so we can kind of, balance each other out and push each other in our weaknesses there. So I feel like we're, rising tides floats all boats, and that's what's happening on MDE right now, and I'm grateful for that.
It's cool to see. Like, I used to coach on the high performance side here in Canada, and it was one thing with groups you almost never knew. Like, obviously, you want to bring talent in, but like the right people can make or break that group. And it sounds like, at least from what I've seen from socials, doesn't tell the full story, but like you guys have a good friendship within the group. It seems like you guys like to train together. We race together a lot of the time too. It seems like when available.
Yeah, I think we have a unique dynamic on our team because our team doesn't have any like shoe sponsor. Like
Right.
we don't I love MDE, but we are not paying out the big bucks by any means. We're not really pulling in like the highest, like the huge
Sure.
studs. So
Yeah.
I call us kind of like a working class team,
Yeah.
which I think creates like a really cool atmosphere because there's no sense of entitlement on our team. It's kind of like we all are starting from the bottom. We have a lot of like Division 2
Yeah.
athletes, just kind of people who are just willing to grind. So there's not like, I don't know, there's just no ego to have to deal with, which helps. Where,
Yeah.
if we're getting like NCAA champions,
Yeah.
there might be some ego at play there.
For sure. This is an interesting observation. Maybe you haven't thought about it, but I have as an outsider in Canada, it seems like we don't have the firepower up top, but we tend to retain more people post college than you guys do. It seems like a lot of the NCAAs, if I don't go pro, I stop kind of thing. What do you think it is about some of the people in your team that have like actually had this like they stick to it, they keep going, they keep developing? Like, what trait or ability do you think that is that it obviously leads well to marathoning as well too, if you think about your group?
Yeah, I guess it's just like kind of that grittiness. And I think that ability to, like we were saying, just like stick to the program for a long time leads to a lot of success. But I feel like the athletes on MD specifically, because we aren't like a group of like these big studs necessarily from NCAAs. Like we have this keep your head down, work hard,
Yeah.
nose to the grindstone, and just like, don't talk the talk, just walk the walk kind of
Yeah.
thing. So I feel like that just leads to not only people staying in it for a lot longer because they're like, I need to see the fruits of my labor workout, but also just leads to like really gritty people who like adversity, I think, especially in running, is a superpower. Like having to, get up and get your run done at 5 a.m. and then go clock into your shift at 8 and then work till 4 and then go do your double. Like those years for me when I first joined the team when I was working a lot were formative. And like I feel like I was grinding so darn hard that now I'm like, I don't even have a day job. So like of course I can get my runs done. So I think it makes us really great athletes.
It's an interesting point that I hope we could segue, and maybe it'll be smooth. I don't know. We'll find out. But I thought your development pathway was amazing, and I think it was a testament to like you, your coaches, and your ability to grind and put your nose down, as you said. But I know it's been talked about a bunch, but I want to go into it a little bit if you're okay. Like coming out of college, coming out of high school, you weren't fast, you weren't hyper recruited, and just so everybody's clear, I'm not saying this to bash Dakotah. It's a well-known story here. And so
yes.
what was that like for you to have those dreams, those desires to make an OTQ and kind of, either maybe get bashed down by some of the early results or see others that it just seemed like easy for? Like, what made you stick with it and believe, hey, like I could actually do this?
Yeah, it's funny because I definitely had like Olympic dreams when I was younger, but then the OTQ dream came from my college coach for sure. Like it wasn't like I was going through college thinking like, oh, someday I want to be a marathoner, someday I want to OTQ. But as soon as he told me that he thought I had the potential to OTQ, I was like, in the marathon, I was like, heck yeah. Like I didn't even realize like that was a possibility. So it was something I latched onto really quickly, but for sure was his dream for me first, which I think is really a great thing to have somebody around you who believes in you more than you realize that you even believe in yourself. And then, I mean, I dropped out on my very first marathon I ran, which was CIM, and gosh, the years start to get blurry. I think like December of 2018 or something. And I definitely wanted to quit right after that. Like I remember being in the airport and calling my mom and being like, I'm never doing this again. Like that was so embarrassing. And I never want to put like this big dream out there and then fail ever again. And she was like, essentially like, you're going to try again. Like it's going to go better. And it's like never an embarrassing thing to dream, which was like such an important lesson I learned. So having somebody also around me that's gonna keep me like in line is important. I think that's important for everybody to have a support system that believes too, because you are gonna have days that you don't believe in yourself. But I don't know what within me from that point on just decided that someday I was gonna become an Olympian, because I had no business believing that I would ever be where I'm at. But I think that there's like I'm just like stupid enough to believe I can in some things. That's just like the nicest. That's just the nicest way that I can say it. Like in my mind, I don't ever think like why. I don't ever just think like why, like just go halfway. So like the first time I ever actually ran a marathon was in college, and it was my college coach wanting me to run a half marathon in the summer. And I was like, why would I do a half marathon? Like that to me, it just doesn't click. Like nothing about that makes sense. So I was like, I'm just gonna do a full marathon if I'm gonna go halfway. So I think that's part of, I don't know, some sort of mental illness or some stupidity I have in my head that I just can't do anything half.
Yeah, don't worry, I won't pull out my clinical background for the rest of this conversation. But so I mean, I love that. I think whether you could say it's belief or lack of belief, and stupidity, as you would say, it doesn't matter. I think the moral, and what I try to tell athletes in my clinical practice or coach practice is like, if you stick with something long enough, chances are you'll probably find out how good you can be at it. And we oftentimes undersell ourselves at how good we could be at something, or we don't understand the length of time it actually takes to be quite good at something too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like, I mean, like the 10,000 hours thing is kind of that example, but you just never know. I think it's Atomic Habits maybe talks about like you just never know like when that breakthrough is going to happen. So I
Mhm.
guess there's also a part of that stupidity is probably also curiosity of
Yeah.
being like in the next marathon will I hit it? Like I went to Boston now four four times. This will be my fifth Boston, and I have just been beat up every time I go to Boston. Like that course spits me up and chews me out or spits me
Yeah.
out, and uh there's that curiosity of like maybe this time will be the
Yeah.
time I get it. So I think that, you know, in a nicer way, better to be kinder to myself. I'll
Yeah.
call it curiosity instead of
Yeah.
stupid.
A little column A, a little column B. We'll see. But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you walk us through like I find these type of moments fascinating, and we'll find out what your answer is, I suppose. But as a coach and watching athletes that I coach try to make big teams and stuff, I think there's something that only a handful of people can understand the moments in big races where things actually change your life. Like that OTQ for you was life changing, I would have to imagine, right? And I don't know. I've had a couple of months coaching like that, not nearly to your level like that, but they stick with you. Like, what would like? I find it hard to describe. Can you describe what that moment was like when you kind of made the corner, looked around, double checking the math, like, am I in, crossing the line stuff? What was that moment actually like?
Like gosh, there's a few moments like that. Like actually hitting my first OTQ and being like
Sure.
I have done like the big thing that I thought would have been my mountaintop. But then like even making the Olympic team, like
Yeah.
that's like way bigger of a life-changing moment. And what I think is funny is that if you're sitting, you know, listening to this right now, you have that dream that you're like, that's my mountaintop. And when you accomplish it, there's like, I'd say like a half a second where you go, I've done it. I've done the thing. And then I think if you're a competitor, your mind goes, but now what's the next thing? Like it immediately shifts into something different. Like what's the next goal? So like I feel like as soon as I made that team, it was like so exciting. But also I was like, well now how do I medal? So I feel like there's almost this inability to sit in the like beauty of what you just did when you're a high
Yeah.
competitor. Probably it's probably also a mental illness.
Well, no, I think it's true across the spectrum of people. And I think what's interesting is um, we inherently know because everybody, regardless of the level you've at, has hit a different mountain and then realized there's another mountain. Maybe it's your first marathon, qualify for Boston, or whatever it is, right? But I think the thing we're chasing isn't necessarily the next mountaintop. It's that fleeting moment, like you said, where you have that like 1 or 2 seconds where like, yeah, I did it, right? And it's like, oh, I'm actually going, I got to prepare for the Olympics. I got to do another build. I got to get ready, right?
Hmm.
But that moment I find is like so special for people. I think that's the thing that hooks a lot of people, even if you're running a 5 hour marathon for your first time. It's that moment of accomplishment. Is that fair? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Like it's such a beautiful thing to have done something that you only dreamed you could do. And it is addictive for sure. Like I want that moment again of like I just did it, whether that's another Olympic team or a medal at the Olympics or a world team, whatever. Like I just
Yeah.
want that you chase that high of like you see me at the finish line of the Olympic trials going,
Yeah.
what? Like that moment of you chase that what
Yeah.
feeling. So
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. What was it like? Because with the U.S. trials and the Olympics, it's quite spaced out, right? It's not like track trials, which are much closer. The marathon trials is further out, and certainly we know like post Olympic blues or like the down kind of period after. With that elongated period in between, are you just like so busy and focused, and there's a bunch of new things coming at you because you guys are the first people really named to the team, right? Um, what does that period look like for you?
Yeah, it was super I was envious of track for sure because there is it like I feel like that whiplash
Yeah,
of okay, I made a team, now I have to do processing and then basically I'm going to Paris and I'm already fit from that first build.
yeah,
That looked really awesome compared to my like whiplash I had. Things got really busy and then it was like, oh crap, now I have to get ready for another marathon
yeah,
and it's a super hilly marathon that's going to be super hot, so I knew like all the hard work was ahead of me, so I felt envious of everybody who essentially qualified and was already fit for their
yeah,
event that they were going to do. But also I think it gives you some time to just like really revel in the fact that you made a team. Like I went right to Dominican. Yeah, we went right to the Dominican from the Olympic trials because I had a plan that I was either going to go there to celebrate or I was going to go there to be really sad. So I did. I mean, there is some beauty in being able to
Yeah.
kind of celebrate it for sure. But I also felt very upset that I was the first to qualify and then the very last to compete. So
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like in Paris and also just like rocking back and forth on my couch, just being like, I just want to get
Yeah.
this done with, and watching like all the track events happening
Yeah.
and seeing, especially American men in
Man.
Paris, did
Yeah.
so well. And to watch like Grant Fisher and Cole Hawker, I was literally like sitting on my couch, like ready to break through a wall. I'm like, I'm probably like losing some of my
Yeah.
adrenaline sitting here in my apartment
Yeah.
that I'm going to need in a couple days in my race.
What was that like in the village and the track area in particular? With like, as you said, the men were popping off. I think the men's 800 was the only track event where there wasn't a medal, and still,
Right.
even Bryce ran an American record in that race to come forth. What was it like in the track world of the Olympic Village for you guys? Just see every day, like it felt like somebody was probably coming in with a medal.
Yeah, so I actually didn't stay in the village for the Olympics. I would come and go, and
Yeah.
uh Team USA is awesome because they actually give us like they reserve like an outside track
Okay.
where they have like an American chef and like all of our sports physio and stuff. So I would occasionally go to that track too, but
Yeah.
the day before my race when I was preparing the bottles, like Grant Fisher walked by and I was like, this guy just medaled twice. Like that's it just kind of like gave you this weird hope that it was gonna be you too, because we're
Yeah.
not normally, I wouldn't say in the past few years, we're not normally medal
Yeah.
contenders. So it kind of gave you that like underdog, like who knows, anything can happen at the Olympics feeling, which was really exciting.
That's pretty interesting because obviously at your level and ability now, you're around pros and good people all the time, like your call rooms for races and press and stuff. And but yet you saw Grant Fisher after, and you were almost like, oh my God, this guy just did it right there. Like, like
Totally.
I'm sure you see some people act like this towards you when they meet you too, right? Did you
Yeah.
find that interesting to be there and be like, I'm here too, but like this is going on right here. This guy just won 2 medals and he's right here.
Yeah, because I think there's like this feeling of like, oh, we're equally Olympians, we're teammates, but like
Yeah.
now he's a medalist, so like that feels like a step up. And he was super nice and like talked to us for a little bit, but I felt like starstruck by him still
Yeah.
because he just did this like unhuman thing in my mind
Yeah.
that I was dreaming of doing. And I think when somebody gives you a lot of inspiration like that, it's normal to feel, I guess, like awestruck by them.
Yeah. I think he's making his half debut soon, actually. So I
Yeah,
don't
at
know. Yeah.
the United Half, which I'm
Yeah.
super pumped for. I think he's gonna
Yeah.
kill
Yeah.
it.
Maybe long term, you guys will be on a team together for a different event.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. No, what was it like racing the actual Olympic marathon? Because I've I've had known athletes that have gone to Worlds, never to the Olympics, and done the marathon, and it seems like it is chaos and craziness. What was it actually like over there?
Yeah, it is chaos and
Yeah.
craziness. It's just unlike anything else. Like you can't really simulate that type of race because
Yeah.
you show up and then it's like so many, they're not really call rooms, but there's so many different
Yeah.
stages just to get to the start line. And I feel like I'm normally very type A, but was so many people told me that it's pretty chaotic in the morning
Yeah.
of. So luckily I felt like I got to the starting line pretty calm, but when I was going to the bathroom and like the porta potties, I like opened one up and there was throw up all over the walls. And then I like went to another one and there I could hear another girl throwing up. Like I feel like everybody was so stressed out
Yeah.
that it made me feel good because I was like, I'm nervous, but I'm like appropriately nervous.
Yeah.
And that kind of gave me some peace being on the starting line, knowing like everybody is nervous right now. Like that's
Yeah.
okay. And some people are going to be more nervous than I am, which is like, oh, in my opinion, like a waste of energy. So I don't know. It was just more chaotic than I thought, but I think that played to my favor because I can be a pretty calm person when I need to be.
Yeah, fair enough. And if you don't want, break down that race a little bit for you, because as you said, that course was pretty nasty for a Olympic or world course. So what was that like actually racing on the day?
Yeah, the beginning was super chaotic because it was super narrow roads with a lot of turns, and I think we saw a fall or two. I can't
Yeah.
remember who. And it's like kind of cobblestone, especially by like the Louvre. So for a long time, I was almost like, somebody take it out, like string this out. It's way
Yeah.
too congested for this little area. And then I don't remember who anymore. Somebody just all of a sudden started like sprinting and dropped like a
Yeah.
5 minute mile. It was like, bye, see you guys
Yeah.
later. And that was on the way out to Versailles, which is like a it's funny that these details start to escape my memory, but it
That's it.
felt like a 3 or 4 mile long, like
Yeah.
low grade climb out to Versailles. And so they dropped me completely. And then I was like, well, I'm just going to work my way up this hill. And I ended up catching them right at Versailles, essentially. And that's when I turned the corner and went into the lead, which was wild. Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden I looked left and right and I was like, oh, there's nobody by me. And I'm leading the Olympic marathon in front of like the most beautiful castle on the planet. And I know that my dad, so the funny thing is my dad and family were down closer to the finish line. And I had a couple groups of people there. And all of a sudden when I took the lead, my dad had such a my family had such a loud reaction. The other group of people who were there thought that there was like something bad had
Like you
happened
fell
because
or something. Yeah.
yeah, like no, that there was like a public like bombing or something
Oh,
because my
geez. Yeah.
family was yelling so loudly over the fact that I was leading. So, sorry, that was a tangent. I just
Yeah.
heard that story for the first time recently, so I think that's at the top of my mind. But so whatever, I took the lead for a little bit, but then they came storming past me again, and that's like my biggest regret is when they went past me. I really wish I would have connected a little bit more, but in my head I was like, oh well, I'll just catch them up this next hill because
Right.
that's where what they called the wall was,
Yeah.
the hill that everybody talked about. And I literally, looking back at my data, I think I was running like 7:30 pace up it
Yeah.
in the
Wow.
Olympic marathon. Like I was going really slow.
Yeah.
And then down the backside of it was just trying not to fall. But we had done so much hill training for this marathon that it was actually my best close I've ever had. Like I never, aside from that hill, never slowed down, which was awesome. So I ended up picking off the previous Olympic champion right at the end, which was cool. Like I remember passing her. Who was it? Is it Perez?
I think so. I think
Um,
you're right. Yeah.
I passed her with like a K to go, and I was like, oh my gosh! Like if this course, uh, like broke her and I'm passing her, like that just felt like a win for me. Even though I ended up 12th overall, and now I'm moved up to 11th with
Yeah. Doping
um
suspicions. Yeah.
yeah, with a doping. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, what was that like? I mean, I'm sure you went in there with high aspirations. You talked about, seeing Grant, thinking, "Hey, I can do that," and such. How did that moment sit with you, being 12th officially on the day, 11th now? But what was that like to, I know you said you had the Olympic dream as a kid, like we all do in sport, and then kind of come back to it. What was it like to? Were you able to take in a moment and be like, I just did this. I was leading the Olympic marathon. I was 12th. Like, how did that go down?
Yeah, it's funny because when I crossed the line, I had no idea what place I was in. And I had to have like Runner's World tell me or something. And
Yeah.
I think my immediate emotion after crossing the finish line was pride. Like I was
Yeah.
so grateful. I felt like I had put out a race that I was pretty proud of. I had that one regret of not going with the pack near the end there, but overall I felt happy with it. But then I heard my place and I was like, oh, but top 10 would have been
Too
really
much.
good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Too much.
Yeah, and then but the thing is if I was 10th or ninth, I would have been like, well, top
Top
5 would
eight,
have been
top five.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like that again, that mountain top just gets higher and higher and further. So I know that truly I will never really be happy. And if I ever
Yeah.
finish a marathon and I'm like, that's it, I'm super happy with that, I will probably wash my hands of running and be done and
Yeah.
retire right then and there. So I think that's the beauty of our sport is there's always something higher to chase. But I did have a moment of appreciating it and then a lot of like kind of kicking myself over like, 2 more spots.
Well, that's interesting. I've heard even like Olympic champions, not in our sport, but in other sports, talk about like, oh, but I could have won by more, or there was still this technical error or such that it was. And I
Totally.
think I think that's just part of the game. Like when you're trying to be a master at your discipline, right? Like for most
Hmm.
outsiders, they might not have looked at it and be like, oh, she should have went with the gap, right? But because you're trying to really master and hone in on these like really fine percents, right? That is the stuff that's going to eat you. Like if I just did that, right? So
Yes.
yeah,
And like that's gonna be the difference over like an elite athlete to maybe more of a hobby jocker. Is like a
yep,
lot of people could look at my result and be like, wow, that's really amazing. But
yeah.
I'm always gonna look at it and be more critical. And that's why I think like if I ever finish a race and I'm like, that was perfect, couldn't have went better, I'll be
Yeah.
done right then and there. Because I know
Yeah,
I'll have
exactly.
I lost that like edge or that thing
Yeah.
that makes me want to be better.
Yeah, it is. It's a double-edged sword. I try to describe it to people when they ask, and it's like like volume dials like we used to have in like cars and stuff. I always
Yep.
describe the drive towards mastery as like a volume dial that for most of us it's just turned to 10 and we can't turn it back. You know what I mean? Like an old car that's kind
Yeah.
of stuck. It's like it doesn't matter whether you were first, second, third, 12th, whatever. You're just like, no, I could have got better. I could have done this better. So
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of mastery, we talked a little bit about Boston coming up. You're announced in the pro field. You got your teammate, I think Annie's running with you as well down there. What's that looking like? What are you striving towards? What are you trying to close the gap on? I know you said Boston's kind of not been kind to you. So what's the gap that you're trying to close with this one?
Yeah, Boston's fun because you don't necessarily go into it with a time goal. Like I definitely think I could PR on the course,
Yeah.
but it's not one where I'm like, oh, I have to run a 2:23 to be happy. It's more place. And gosh, it's gonna be harder than ever this year with that field that they put together. But I would say like my B goal is to be top 10 and then my A goal will be to be top 5. And then like A plus, which you always have to have is
Yeah.
like to win, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But I mean if there's a course that you can have an upset on, it's like a Boston for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure.
It the fastest or the best people don't always win there. It's sometimes just the grittiest, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm like hoping and praying for like a 2018 downpour does type win.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna ask you. Yeah, I was
yeah.
like, is the Minnesotan gonna come out? You're gonna want the bad weather, the grindy type course day.
I actually do not do that well in cold, but I do know that I wouldn't give up. So I think that would play into my favor. But yeah, just hoping to be really competitive with the field.
Yeah. So outside of like the hilliness that you talked about in NC that you guys are going after, what are you changing for this build or doing more of, maybe is a better question, to really prepare this time versus your other previous Boston builds?
Yeah, I have, this kind of circles back to stride, but I've been having some just imbalance left to right on my leg spring stiffness. I always mess that up. And so I'm doing a lot more plyos this time, which I think will also be really favorable for all the downhill at Boston. So really just trying to hit the gym a lot more and kind of even out my stride a little bit. So that would be something that we're adding. And then let's think. I think we're gonna go a little less mileage this time.
I
I'm
was
a
going to
pretty
ask
high
you. Yeah.
mileage girl. I do
Yeah.
130 pretty frequently, and I
Yeah.
would guess I'll still get up to 130, but I don't think I'll do as many weeks up
Yeah.
there based on my Chicago build. Like I got really fit off of 130, but I think I got too fit too soon. So I think we'll
Yeah.
stay a little lower for more of it.
Is it just going to be lower? Are you changing the intensity ratio? Is it like are you adding more intensity in if you're lower or just straight lower?
I think we'll just go a little lower. And like, I also feel like when I do a lot of speed, I also get a little bit it's a funny thing to say, but I almost get too fit,
Yeah.
too
Yeah. Yeah. No,
fast.
I get it. I get
So,
it. Yeah.
yeah, maybe saving some speed for like the sharpening the last few weeks.
Last few weeks. Yeah. No, that's fair. Do you like you are a relatively, this is a vague term, but high mileage marathoner. Um, when did you realize like okay there's kind of a cap to how much I can do that will help me because I think a lot of us who are higher volume think we got to keep adding it, that's the way we've had this success, right? Like what got me here is what's going to get me to the next level, but you've figured out like it's the new level is a new devil, it's not necessarily the same thing to contend with. What was that process?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's something that I have learned all on my own because even when I've been up to 130 now for a couple of years being my peak
Yep.
mileage. And I'm still like, what about 135? What about
Yep.
140? But my coach definitely describes diminishing returns to me. So
Okay.
I do know that, I don't know. I think it ends up being like trust in my coach that more won't always be better. I'm also very lucky that I'm going to knock on wood. I'm
Yeah,
pretty
yeah,
durable,
yeah.
very, very injury free for the most part. So I don't want to, push that and change that in any way. Like I could definitely toe over the line and be more injured. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of just trust in the coach.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's fair. It's a tough one for athletes. I know, like way back, like Cam Levins was doing crazy stuff, like one of our Canadian
Like
guys, and
triples. Yeah,
like
just
triple.
doing
Oh
like
yeah,
triples. Yeah.
I've heard some crazy stories from some guys that I was coaching that run national teams with him. Those are the things he would do. Like it was beyond. But it is interesting because we do get that addictive mindset. I think there's a if you've never done it, I think there's a feeling you get. You could correct me on the distances maybe, but like kind of that like 110 to 120 plus mileage, there's something that feels so good about that when you're just like ticking
Totally.
it off, right? That you don't get lower. It's weird. Like if people haven't done it, they don't know that feeling.
Yeah, yeah. I was just talking about this actually with my teammates, but if I'm in like the 80 to like 110 range, I feel creaky and
Yeah.
like boy, like I feel like almost arthritic. But
Yeah.
now I'm at 120 and I've never felt better. Like it's
Yeah.
super weird, but you feel maybe so tired that you just feel good. Like your body just gives up and says, you know what, we can't fight this anymore. Like
Yeah.
you can feel good now.
Yeah. I don't know like my wife's a 246 marathoner and she loves running like 110, 115-mile weeks. Like she feels better at that than 89.
Yeah.
It's the same way. I don't know how to describe it other than you have to experience it to know it. There's no other way to think about it.
Yeah, my Cairo back home thinks it's because like as soon as I start to taper, of course I'll
Yeah.
feel bad again.
Yeah.
And he thinks it's just like my body finally has time to recover. So like all of your nervous system is
Yeah.
finally picking up again, I guess. So I'm sure that there could be studies done on it, but
Yeah, I'm sure
they
there's
should
something.
do
I don't know what
more
it is,
for
but
sure.
yeah. No, that's interesting. What shoes are you rocking? And the reason why I ask is because we tried out the Puma, what are the R3s? Is that the fast R3s, I
Oh,
think?
yeah, fast stars, yeah.
Yeah, so my 212 guy and my wife and a couple of athletes have had them and love them. Like I do think it's
Hmm.
probably one of the best shoes on the market, to be honest. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. Like literally, my wife has them downstairs. We spent like $500 to get them for her. It's
Yeah.
insane. But is that what you're racing in? Like, what are you training in?
Yeah, so racing, I've been in the fast stars now for a couple of marathons, and there's incredible shoes.
Yeah.
They're so fast, but they're a really aggressive plate. And I think for me, when I get tired, I start to heel strike a lot,
Okay.
which that shoe doesn't favor a heel
Yeah.
striker necessarily. So I think I'm going to move back to the DV8s for marathons, but like half marathon and under, I'll stay in the fast star because it's undescribable. They are
Yeah.
so fast and they make you feel just like it's crazy how good you feel in those shoes. But once you feel bad, might start to feel like kind of really
Real
bad
bad.
if you're not strong enough. And I think that's part of the thing that I lack. Like Annie loves the fast stars, and even when she is like down so bad in a marathon, like those shoes still help her. Where I think they start to hurt me a little bit when
Oh
I'm
yeah.
tired. So I'll move to the DV8 Elites for the marathon this go around, and they're just dropping their fourth edition of DV8 Elites, I think, in like a couple of days. And that's a great shoe. That's what I made the Olympic trials and ran the Olympics in. So
Yeah.
that's what I'll move to.
Yeah. What about daily trainers?
My daily trainer is a Forever Run, and that's like a stability shoe. I've had some Achilles issues in the past that I choose to run through. Maybe I shouldn't, but it's been helping my Achilles quite a bit. So I'm in those. And then the Meg Maxes, which is like their high stack crate, like the
Yeah.
fluffiest pillowy shoe that you can imagine. I do a lot of my doubles in those just to make the body feel good.
Nice. Yeah. Well, fair enough. I'm sure you go through quite a bit of shoes at that level. I know how many we go
Totally.
through here, so I can only imagine for
Yeah.
you. But yeah. If I could ask you a couple training questions about the marathon, what workout or workouts do you get the most confidence from?
Yeah, the one I get the absolute most confidence from is we'll do different lengths of it. So usually starting at either like 45 or 60 minutes, working all the way up to 90 minutes of 3 minutes at LT and then a 2 minute float. So it ends up being like 60 to 90 minutes of
Yeah.
floating right around marathon pace, of averaging marathon
Average.
pace.
Yeah.
So that makes me always feel really good because it's like more than half of that work is at LT. So
Yeah.
it was harder than marathon pace should be.
Yep.
And it made marathon pace feel like super comfy and easy. So
Interesting.
that's the one that I usually take that average out of and say, well, that's about what I can run a marathon in.
Yeah. Fair enough. That's a good one. And what's the hardest workout for you in the build? I imagine it's on the speed side.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. When we do, it's funny because it's the hardest, but I kind of like it. We do, I am just blanking on the name of them. They're 400s. It's like an Australian coach who does them.
Is it Bedeau, Nick Bedeau's stuff?
No, I cannot believe I'm blanking on it, but we do. It's 8 400s at 5K pace with a 200-meter float in between. So the whole entire workout ends up being a 5K.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and and then you do like one last hard 200 at the end to make it a full 5K. I cannot believe I keep almost saying it and I am forgetting it. But I like to do that one because yeah, it's my 5K PR to this day is in that workout, is doing that workout. But gosh, it is so hard. Like 400s are so hard for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna come up with the name of this workout later and
Right
I'll
after,
say
you just
it.
text it to me.
Yeah, yeah.
What do you think is a super underrated marathon skill?
Super underrated marathon skill is to just be able to zone out for a really long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
I think I actually really love to run alone, and I think that is part of that skill
Super
of like
fun.
I can just run 10 miles and just not have like a thought for 10 miles, which makes me just sound like I don't have any brain cells or anything, but I mean that's really what a marathoner is
Yeah,
just like going through the motions and
yeah,
just like letting your body do all the work without
yeah.
thinking.
I talk about I love that idea because I talk about on the clinical side, like the marathon is like in the marathon is the loneliest chapter of running. Like generally in training, we've got friends, we're checking with coaches, we're doing all these things, but for 2+ hours, it's just you in your head. Like, yeah, sure, you might share a thought or something with one of the women running beside you, but it's just you, right? And
Yeah.
it's super lonely. So I agree with that fully. Because if you don't practice that, if you're with somebody all the time and then you get into that pain cave 90 minutes, 100 minutes in or something like that, and you haven't been there by yourself, that's some
Yeah.
dangerous territory. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think finding like I guess that's the flow state that we all chase. It's hard to find and it's rare to come by, but when you get into that flow where it's like you're in pain and it sucks, but for some reason it's not like actually hurting your feelings. Like that's
Yeah.
such a beautiful place to be and I hope everybody gets to experience that.
Yeah. What excites you about this next stage of your career coming up? We've got what is it, two-ish more years till qualifying for the Olympics. What excites you the most about the next couple of years here?
Yeah, so I'm 30 right now. I'll be 30, turning 31 in May, and I feel like we've seen a lot of women do really well in this block of their life. So I feel like maybe this will be kind of like my time to feel really like I belong on every starting line and going into an Olympic trials, already being an Olympian. Like I think that
Yeah.
will kind of you know, keep my head tall on the starting line and
Yeah.
make me really believe that I can make another team. And I would love to make a team that is on American soil. Like, I think
Yeah.
that's super fun. And I also feel like Annie is kind of on the up and like, not kind of, she is on the
She
up and
is.
up
Yeah.
right now. So I literally think about it every day on almost every run of her and I crossing the finish line and like making an Olympic team together. Like
Yeah.
that is what's I'm gonna put it out right now, 2026. I'm calling it early, calling the shot early. Me and Annie
Yeah.
are making the Olympic team
I love
together.
it. It'd be a blast. I mean, it'd be such a cool story to see teammates do it, right? Especially
Yeah,
it doesn't happen in the marathon often. I mean, on the men's side, recently it has, obviously, right? But on the women's side, there's not many teammates beyond that. Yeah. I know Puma teammates, but
totally.
not like actually training
Right.
teammates, right? So,
Yeah, for sure.
what's the hardest thing you're trying to figure out for the next couple of years to get yourself into that position?
Mm. I think I need to figure out how to close marathons harder. We're watching like Jess McLean,
Yeah.
even like Fiona in New York,
Yeah.
Annie in New York, like they're
Yeah.
closing so hard. And I have mentioned many times already, I'm not super speedy, so
Yeah.
I've got to figure out a way to either be ahead of them already when they start to
Yeah.
close hard or figure out a way to, kind of close hard with them.
Yeah. How are you guys trying to solve it?
This fartlek that we do, I think if I can do it the right way where I'm fast at the end helps because if I could get down to like threshold pace in a marathon, like that's pretty dang fast.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
um, I think the fartlek helps a lot for sure, and doing it the right way where I'm getting actually super fast at the end would be helpful. And this is actually what I said for the workout that I hate the most, or that I think is the hardest. Progression runs are the worst. I
Really?
think they're the worst. I hate doing progression runs
Really?
so much, but it's because I have a hard time being speedy at the end.
Got it. Yeah, I would have not pegged that as a marathoner. Most marathoners, that's what they love, is that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Mm-mm, not for me. I also just prefer workouts that, I don't know, they're just more black and white, where
Yeah.
progression is more by feel, I
Yeah.
guess.
Fair enough. Okay.
So I
All
don't
right.
like
Fair enough.
the ambiguity a bit, I guess.
I usually hear 800s for some reason. Everybody hates 800s.
Well, I mean, 800s are like the hardest probably distance,
Yeah.
like you can always grind through a 4, but like an
Yeah.
800 is like interval work. So
Yeah.
interval work should probably be your hardest thing.
Fair enough.
But I just don't like I don't like being left in the dust. That's the big thing for me.
Fair enough. Cool. We haven't touched on it yet, but I wanted to give you an opportunity because we coach together at Team Run Run. I know you coach, obviously, and I just wanted to see what it's like at your level and your experience being able to share some of that knowledge and such with marathoners. It must be pretty cool to be entrenched in it in all kind of aspects.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I started coaching in COVID when I'd been laid off. I was a teacher pre-COVID. So I'd been laid off and was just kind of like, what can I do aside from like deliver DoorDash to like spend my days? And so I looked at my skill set, which is like running and teaching, and I was like, if
Yeah,
you put those together, that's kind of coaching. So
yeah,
I've been doing it since 2020, and it's so rewarding. It's also like I feel so grateful to have this skill set that I have and like share it with people and see their high highs. But I also love that I can be there for them in their low lows, because I also understand what it's like to put in 4 hard months of training and the day not work out how you
yeah.
want it to. So in some ways, I think having to help people through their disappointments is even more meaningful than being there for them when like they have the A race.
Yeah, it is so cool as a coach to be there. Like, I don't know if I've had people tell me about their like divorces or life stuff or everything, and you're kind of just
Totally.
a sounding board, right?
Yeah.
But it is so cool to be a part of it for people. So I'm glad you do it because you've obviously got lots to give.
Yeah, it's funny. I always tell people like obviously I'm a coach and I give them training and runs, but I'm also a therapist in some
Oh yeah,
way. Like I'm definitely just here to like support them in any way possible. And a lot of the times you get to know these people like they're like your family. So
yeah,
it's, when you get to meet them at races, or you call them on the phone, like it feels like talking to people you really enjoy. So I enjoy it a lot.
yeah. I was gonna ask you, like, it's one of my favorite parts of online coaching is going to races and then actually meeting the people you've conversed with like a billion times a week in person.
Totally.
What's that like for you? Do you find it hard, like if you're racing that weekend to navigate kind of both?
It depends on the race. Like when I go to Boston, it can be hard just because they make you work for it there.
Yeah,
You are
yeah,
so busy. You're going from one thing to the next. So it's hard to like set up any time to like actually meet. So I usually give people what my schedule is. If they can be there, that's great. If not, like it won't probably work out. But when I'm at like grandma's, for example, which is a
yeah.
smaller, more relaxed race, like this last year I was waiting for one of my athletes I've been working with for a while for I was like at the finish line for so long trying to describe to like my husband and my dad, who have never seen this guy before. I'm like, here's what he looks like. And it's like a pretty standard runner build.
Yeah.
So they're like, is that him? Like, no, that him. So it's like I love to get to see them after races and share in that moment for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's too cool. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you want to share? I mean, this has been a great conversation on my end, hopefully on your end as well, but anything
Yeah.
that you're itching to get out there?
No, I don't think so. I think we did great.
Yeah. What about your dog's name? I see your dog back there. Mine hasn't
Yeah,
interrupted,
yeah.
actually.
He's taking a nap. I'm surprised he hasn't interrupted either. This is
Yeah.
Augie.
Yeah. Did he come down with you
He did.
to
So I
kids?
drove
Nice.
down to North
Nice.
Carolina just so I could bring him. I
Yeah.
think dogs are a little bit of emotional support animals. So
Yeah.
on my bad days, he helps me, and then when I'm tired, he helps me on runs. So
Hey, I hear you. We drove to Flagstaff, 36 hours of driving with our dog in the car. Our Australian
yeah,
Shepherd ran with us.
it's
So.
worth it to bring him with.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Cool. Well,
Hmm.
thanks for coming on, Dakota. I'll drop kind of where people can find you and track you for Boston and such in the show notes. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me.